Today's video is not about PSG, but about something much bigger and much darker happening in Ligue 1. Last night in Nice, after yet another defeat, several players were physically assaulted by their own so-called supporters. We're talking punches, speeding, insults, and two players, Moffi and Boga, now placed on medical leave after the attack. This is a club collapsing under sporting failure, broken leadership, and a supporter culture that's been allowed to cross line after line without consequence. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, how Nice reached this point, and why this should worry every fan in French football. Today, nightmare in Nice. After yet another defeat in Ligue 1 at Lorient 3-1, Nice players who were coming back to Nice were assaulted by their own supporters. What happened is that when they landed back in Nice, they had to go back to the training center to get their car back because the players' cars were all in the training center. They were told upon landing in Nice that 200 supporters were waiting for them there. When they arrived, 400 supporters were there, wanting to talk, or at least express their discontent with the players. What happened is that two representatives of the fans were allowed to get on the bus with the players to voice off like what they had to say. They requested for the players to come out of the bus, which I guess they had to do at some point to get on their cars anyway. And at that point, the situation just spiraled out of control. There's different reports coming out, so I want to be a bit careful there. But what's been said is that initially, the tension increased. The supporters started talking with the coach, with the sporting director, and then with the players. And two players in particular, Moffi and Boga, really caught their attentions for different reasons, and they started reproaching of them different stuff in the past. And the situation progressively got worse and worse until blows started flying. Players were apparently kicked repeatedly, were spit on, were insulted, including with racist insults, until other players managed to get them out of the brawl. They went on to get their injuries reported by doctors and complained with the police. And so both players are essentially out of action for 5 to 7 days because of the blows that they suffered. And both have already publicly said that they do not want to play for Nice again, which I can fully understand. And so, this is just mind-blowing kind of situation. I'll say it Nice is well known for having very, very rough supporter culture. And by that I mean it's been years and years and years of Nice supporters progressively crossing every line that there is, whether signs in the stadium, insults, racist insults, brawling outside of the stadium. So everything that, we don't really want to see in football, they've made it happen and they've made it worse. And year after year after year, the club has turned a blind eye to it. The town of Nice has turned a blind eye to it. And it is looking like, this latest is going to be exactly the same, because the police report of the incident says no, there was no hitting involved, no violence, just the fans wanted to intimidate the players, but it didn't go beyond that, which, I'm having a hard time believing, honestly, given all the reports. Terrible situation, and a fan base which is just out of control. So I'll say it as well, obviously the club is going through a rough time. They went 6 defeats in 6 games in November. The last game that they won was actually the game before they played us at the beginning of November. They're 10th in Ligue 1, which is well below where they would want to be in the European qualifying spot. They finished 4th last season, I want to say, so they're really off the pace. And also in Europe, they're making absolute fools of themselves. Right now in Europa League, they have 5 defeats for 5 games played. The latest 3-0 defeat against Porto. And yes, this month they've had horrible results, like losing against Metz 2-1, losing against Marseille 5-1, which is their local regional derby, I would say. Lost 3-0 against Porto, and then this latest one, like losing 3-1 in Lorient. So a string of very disappointing results, and also like long-term complaints that the supporters have had in terms of the club ownership that went from Ineos in, then out, not really like doing much with the club, not really living up to the hype that they built. A new president who's not very present and not really endearing himself with the supporters. And then a coach who's, he's still relatively well liked by the supporters apparently, but he's complaining about his group of players every chance he gets, that he doesn't have the players to do better, that the players don't have a right attitude. So he's also not really making the situation better in lots of ways. And literally, yeah, the club looks like it's falling apart. You've got supporters on one hand who are mad at the players and the management. The coach is mad at his management and at his players. Management is not there and not really doing much. And yeah, a toxic fan base who's allowed to do whatever they want and act in such a way. And so terrible situation. We'll see, what the actual consequences look like. The beauty of it, saying this with as much irony as I can put, is that I know exactly what's going to happen. And I can tell you, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. The players will complain. They'll get quietly traded off in the winter mercato. The supporters in Nice. So I'll give you my perspective, and I want to be careful because it's political, and I don't this is my personal opinion. So make of that what you will, and I'm more than happy to debate about it. This particular group, those particular groups of ultra supporters in Nice, they're well known for being very, very far right, and racist in ways and stuff like this. And this ties very closely with the overall mood and political sentiment in the city of Nice. Which has, a mayor who's tied with the far-right party, which has police that's, obviously they're next to the coast in the Mediterranean, so they're very anti-migrants, very old school, and so yeah, so the city feeds off itself, and the fans only represent the reality and not the full reality. Obviously it's still a beautiful city and there's still a lot of wonderful people there, but they feed off of the darkest part of that exists in this city, and year after year after year, like I said, it's been a lot too faster. The former president of Nice, it's funny, but once again it's funny, nothing is funny about this, is now running in the next mayoral election with the current mayor of Nice, and so a guy who's close to the far-right party. So this is far-right supporter who was supported by a president who's now tied to the far-right himself. It's what do you expect? Just what do you expect? And so yeah, so in the end, I can tell you nothing is gonna happen. The players will get sold off and traded off. The club will and the world of football in France will do some headlines and so on. Just because it didn't happen in the stadium or during a game, there's really not that much that the league can do in itself. And the local police, they've already come out with a report saying, "Oh no, there was no violence." So yeah, nothing is gonna happen. And honestly, I think as a football fan, it's a tragedy. I think as a PSG fan, I take it even worse because like we as a club and as a fan base are the ones who have suffered through all of the attention and are still suffering through all of the attention whenever there's anything about like supporters doing anything wrong. As soon as there's like one song in the Parc des Princes that could be slightly racist, you get all of the politicians tweeting about it and the police and so on. You get like the PSG fans cannot travel to any away games in France because there's such a big danger to society. You get like, you know, obviously went through the Le Plou plan where all of our ultra supporters association got disbanded, where ultras couldn't buy season tickets together. They had their spots randomized. So all of those things, like we paid the price and we're paying the price time and time again for anything wrong with supporters in Paris and even beyond. And then you see supporters like this in Nice who are doing like honestly horrible stuff that like no one should caution, and they get nothing for it, not even a slap on the wrist. So I really hope I'm wrong on this one. I really hope there's some actions and you see stuff happening to them, because it's not being a supporter. I'm sorry. Like, I'm a huge fan of my team, and you know, I love going to the stadium. I love singing. I love like occasionally shouting abuse at the players when they deserve it. But there's a real clear line, and I think even in the darkest moments, resorting to violence against other people and against your own player, it's unimaginable, and that just cannot be it. And I know, like, you know, people will say like, oh, PSG fans, like they went to Neymar's house like not so long ago. Yes, but as a whole, like the fan base didn't really think that was a good idea, and nothing happened. They stood outside of the house and they were singing. So, like, you know, I think there's like four degrees of separation between that and what happened in Nice. And so, yeah, ultimately we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted. But a nightmare in Nice. Let's just hope that the players actually, like, you know, end up being okay physically and mentally, that they make their way through it. We're talking about like two football internet like professionals, and honestly, like the idea of footballers getting like beaten up or like insulted directly and spit on for what they do, it's just insane. It's just insane to me. So yeah, this is the beauty, like the brawl in Nice and what happened. I wanted to share that. Let me know in the comments your opinions on this. And you know, obviously, like let's talk about supporters and like what you think should happen to them. And yeah, as always, if you made it this far, please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. 99% PSG, but occasionally like something else when there's news worth talking about, which I think is the case here. And so don't forget, even in Nice, ici c'est pareil!